Welcome, everybody. My name's Eric Ryan. I'm Chief Communications Officer here at NASCAR. Thank you very much for being here today and for covering our sport and for all the storytelling you do for our fans. Earlier this morning, you saw the announcement where we named Steve O'Donnell as NASCAR's new Chief Executive Officer, the first non-France family member to hold the title, and then Ben Kennedy named Chief Operating Officer, one of the most important roles in our sport. But before we begin, I want to show you guys a video. This may be a career-limiting moment for me, but it's an opportunity for us to celebrate a very deserving leader and a great friend to the sport. So if you guys would roll it, please. You can check the screens.
More than 75 years ago, alongside a famous beach, a seed was planted. A vision that would change the world of automobile racing forever. That vision came from Bill France Sr., who founded NASCAR with the prediction that stock car racing could become an enduring American institution. And he was right. But it took hard work, focus, and tenacity.
I always had the feeling that we had the best racing in auto racing.
And he didn't have to do it alone. Jim France, the second son of Bill France Sr. and Ann Bledsoe, grew up instilled with the family's love, passion, and core values for motorsports. Jim was there at the beginning. He's seen every step, done every job, and influenced every decision that made NASCAR what it is today.
He's a racer. He loves the sport. He loves the competition.
A lot of people don't really understand the true depth of what he's done to grow the sport.
When the problems come up, you go to Jim. Jim figures it out and gets things done.
8 years ago, Jim was called to take up the mantle once held by his father and his brother to steady the ship in a moment of uncertainty, determined to preserve, expand, and uplift motorsports. Under Jim's leadership, we rose to new heights, connecting to fans on the biggest stages with tools to tell its story beyond state-of-the-art, dedicated to holding the best events in places never expected, creating moments the world will never forget.
The Americans, they've done it.
You pushed hard to make this happen.
That was all of our effort.
And securing the future of the sport for generations to come. Now we take time to celebrate and congratulate Jim for each of his contributions. A time to salute his stewardship that brings the magic of American motorsports to millions across the globe. And a time to honor his continued commitment to his family's enduring vision. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for everything.
And so now I'd like to bring up NASCAR Chairman Jim France and Executive Vice Chair Lisa France Kennedy for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm a little embarrassed by that because it's difficult to take credit for other people's hard work. And I happen to be lucky to be a part of a great team called NASCAR. We've got over 1,400 employees, but I go back to the day when we probably had 14 employees. I was real young then. But I've been fortunate enough to see the growth of our sport and the caliber of folks that we've had involved in developing the sport, starting with my father and mother and brother. And I think I can speak with some real experience here that I believe we have the finest team of people working and running NASCAR that we've ever had in our entire history. And it's going to be my honor here in just a few moments to turn this over to NASCAR's CEO, Steve McDonnell. But I want to make a quick comment about watching what Steve and Ben did starting in March of 2020. When we were all sent home and told that we were unessential, and we had a lot of people trying to figure out how they were going to put beans on their table. Steve and Ben went to work putting together the plan and getting our industry together that got us back to the racetrack, led the way for a lot of major sports getting back in business, and the first to bring their fans back. We've got a great team, and they're going to take this thing even farther. So, Steve, you got the wheel, partner.
So we're going to start with a quick photo op out here in front. So if all four of you could please. All right, thank you very much. All right, so I think we're going to start with some opening remarks from NASCAR's new CEO, Steve O'Donnell.
All right, thanks, Eric. First I want to start and say that Jim's been an incredible friend and mentor to me, along with a number of other folks in the France family, and I am incredibly honored to be in this position and continue working with the France family. And when we're at our best as a sport, the teams, the tracks, manufacturers, television partners, OEMs, drivers, we're all working together and we're aligned to make each other better. So the first goal that we've got is to really unite our industry. Want to create a culture where there's collaboration, it's genuine collaboration, where everybody wins. And the great news, I think, for us is that we're not starting from scratch, right? We're close to 80 years of building a foundation. We've got racing series, not just Cup, but a portfolio of racing series that's unrivaled in all of motorsports. We've got a solid charter foundation, a great broadcast agreement. We've got tracks who are putting on the best fan experiences in the world, a schedule led by Ben that continues to evolve, and an incredible amount of talented people within NASCAR. And then when you look at our team ownership group, you've got racers, you've got titans of business, and you've got titans in the sports industry, all that we can tap into to really grow into the future. So a lot of opportunities as we go forward. To start out, we're going to be listening, and that means genuinely listening before making any decisions. So I know there'll be a lot of questions, where are you going, what are you doing, but I think it's important for us to go out there and spend the time listening to everyone in this industry, team owners, team principals, drivers, tracks, manufacturers, OEMs, and probably most importantly for us to all of the talented employees we have at NASCAR. Not just the leadership team, but those who are out selling the tickets, those who are out interacting with the fans and can tell you what's really happening and where we need the sport to go. So I know there's a number of areas that we need to address, and we're going to move with urgency. But what we're going to need from this industry, and I'm talking to everyone in this industry now, is their collective intelligence. Because we've got some of the brightest minds in all of motorsports each and every weekend in the garage. We got to tap into that, be united, and work together. Last couple things I'll say is, NASCAR has always been an American original. My job, our job, I think all of our jobs, is to make sure that the next generation of fans, wherever they grow up, whatever they do, wherever they come from, whatever makes them unique, knows that this sport belongs to them. Not because we changed who we are, but because new fans recognize what our core fans have known all along, that we're a badass American sport. And lastly, Jim, Mike, Lisa, many others at NASCAR who have mentored me, I want to continue to do the same. For my teammate Ben in his new role as COO, I think all of you that know Ben know that he's already demonstrated just an incredible ability. He's a humble guy who works hard, has great new ideas. I think it's a great combination. I couldn't be more excited to work with Ben and elevate the sport and continue to work with a community that I love. So, Ben, congrats. I'll throw it over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. And I'd say firstly, thank you to Jim. He's been a great leader, great mentor to me, to my mom, Lisa, to Steve, obviously, to Mike Helton, the entire board for believing in us, believing in the vision that we have, and doubling down on this sport. And, Jim mentioned a story that we had during COVID, and I think we both remember it vividly, of us going into the office every single day unsure of what was going to happen. And it was a leadership team, and a lot of the folks that are in the room today, and a lot of new folks that we've brought in since then, that have helped take the sport to the next level. And you think about everything that this sport has accomplished over the last several years, going to new locations from a schedule perspective, all the work that John Probst and the team have done on the competition side, bringing new cars and thinking about our race portfolio and what the future of that's going to bring to the table. I've really enjoyed working with the events and venues team. I think it's neat to be able to somewhat follow in my mom's footsteps. You know, she was always on the track side of the business, working at International Speedway Corporation. Our events and venues are critical to us, and you know, for me, this comes a bit full circle. You know, I've always been a competitor at heart. Had a chance to drive for 11 years. I raced out here at Talladega a couple of times. Had a couple good and bad finishes along the way. But you know, I love the racing aspect of the business. My first job coming at NASCAR was working with John Probst and the competition team. So I'm looking forward to working with them and the rest of the leadership team. And Steve said it before, that we have an incredible leadership team, not only at NASCAR, but our partners, our industry partners, broadcast partners, teams, tracks, drivers, OEMs. You could go down the list. We've got a great group of people that are second to none in this industry. And I think it's rare that you find people that are truly passionate and care about this sport, and we have a lot of that. So look forward to the new challenge and rolling up our sleeves and getting to work.
Okay, so I think we'll go take a few questions. If you raise your hand, we'll try to get to you. We'll start with Kelly Crandall down here up front.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. OD, I have two for you. The first thing you said there in your, one of the things you said there in your opening was about uniting the industry, uniting everybody. You had made similar comments back when the Chase was reintroduced about working on relationships in the garage and kind of everybody getting off their own islands, coming back together. So have you kind of already started that? Like, what can you discuss or share? Like, have you already been in the garage kind of? Because that seems like that's a big focus for you.
Yeah, no, that's a really great question, Kelly. And yes, I think the Chase is an example of when we are at our best. Everyone contributed to that idea. Tim Clark led that for us, but we had every stakeholder in the industry weighing in on what this could be. And you can see when we do those things and we come together, we won't always agree on exactly what comes out, but everybody's had input, and the results are usually pretty fantastic. So that's probably the example of, yes, that's a start. We need that tenfold. We need to do that with creating new businesses. What's the future product we're going to race? All those things, just getting ahead of it. So I think we do the day-to-day well, but where do we want to be 5 years from now, and getting that input from everybody in the industry, working closely with Ben on that, and then setting a plan that if you were to go interview any owner, driver, or track, or what's the plan for the next 5 years, or where do you want to be, they could all answer that somewhat similarly. That's the goal.
And then listening to your opening as a whole there, it almost sounded like a call to action, right? Like I said, like unite the industry. We have to listen. We're going to listen to everybody. We have to address matters with urgency. Is that an accurate assessment of this is not just swapping titles? Like we're here to buckle down and work, and we know we have things we need to do. Yeah,
we're going to get to work. We've already been at work. The biggest thing I think is twofold. Is we're going to make some moves, and we're going to have some fun. I think we lost that over the last couple of years, and it is an unbelievable privilege to be in this position. My wife reminded me today that people would kill to be doing what you're doing, and that's not lost on me. And it's a privilege to do it, but it's also fun. I mean, what we get to do each and every day, and the race you just saw was unbelievable, right? And the enthusiasm from the drivers. We got to showcase that. We got to be proud of that and proud of who we are, and I think you'll see more of that. And I think Ben brings a lot of that for us. The younger generation reminding us of, hey, you can't take months and months to make a decision. TikTok, whatever it is, right? You got to be quick, and but you got to be smart about it. And I think he's pushing for that, which is great.
Okay, we'll go to Bob next, and then John after that.
Steve, you said that you wanted the kind of industry to be somewhat united in where they want to be in 5 years. Where do you want this to be in 5 years?
5 years from now, if we're clicking on all cylinders, you'll see the sport be a must-have from TV partners, whatever the media may be. More and more sponsors activating across drivers. I think you'll see drivers that are crossover superstars outside of racing. You're seeing that happen more and more. Value of teams continue to increase. And really the alignment, Bob, is what's going to do it, is bringing in new fans, but really being proud of who we are. So I think we've got the opportunity. I go back to the foundation that the family has built, all those that have passed before us, regardless of where you are in the industry, built an incredible sport. And we sometimes forget that. So we're building off a foundation that is incredibly strong. We just got to do the right things to keep that growing.
John Newby, Fanbuzz. So, Ben, I know that over the past few years you've been kind of viewed as the architect of the schedule, and you will still have oversee that entire process in your new role, but will there have to be adjustments made with all the other added responsibilities that you have?
Yeah, a little bit. So recently, Julie Giese, who you guys know, she's been the president of Phoenix and headed up the Chicago Street Course for the past few years. She's now leading all of our scheduling efforts. So she's done a tremendous job already helping us build out the 2027 schedule. We're actually leaving after this and going to sit down with a few drivers to talk about it. But we've got a great team on the events and venues team, whether it's our racetracks, folks that are thinking about hospitality, food and beverage at our tracks. We have probably 6 or 7 verticals that live within our team today. And then we get to add in John Probst and the competition folks as well. And I think it's neat that we get to bring competition and our tracks kind of closer together. Granted, we'll be working with the rest of the leadership team. But if you think about some of the most important parts of our business and our DNA, when I think about it, it's our events, it's our venues, and it's cars that we put on track. And I think bringing that team together in kind of one department is going to be a neat opportunity.
Okay. Do we have other questions? We'll go to Zach, and then we can go back to Bob.
For Ben, you mentioned talking about getting back into the competition side of things. And how has your background as a former racer served you as you try to relate to current crop of drivers and navigate that and get back on that side? How eager are you to get back into that?
Yeah, it's helpful. I didn't realize when I was a driver, I didn't think to realize how much it would help me coming to the business side of the sport. Being a driver, going to a race shop every Tuesday and Wednesday, spending time with the team on the weekend, and then being a team owner as well, and we still have a late model team out of Daytona, I think has also created a level of empathy in the garage area as well. But I think more important than anything is the relationships that I built being a driver and being a team owner. And I think it's really neat. We had dinner with the champions in Phoenix after the race last year, and to look around and see crew chiefs and drivers and engineers, folks that are Cup, O'Reilly, and truck champions that were my crew chiefs back in the day or my competitors. And I think it's really neat to think about that, 10 years ago, that they are now sitting on the stage celebrating their wins. So the relationships are critical in this business, and I think just having a perspective and a competitive background just makes it a little bit easier.
If I could add to that, Zach, too, I'll brag on Ben a little bit. So, coming up through the ranks, young driver is going to move to the competition portion of the business. And John and I were like, all right, what's Ben? He's coming in and he's going to work on the truck series. What does that mean? And so we sat down and we said, hey, we've got some relationship challenges. We need to go out and talk to some of the owners. I think natural question for anyone in this room or any one of us are going to be like, he can do whatever he wants in the world. What's going to happen? What's going to be the drive? Within 3 days, we had a report from 36 team owners. He had met with every single team owner. He had ideas of where we could go. So in addition to the experience, I think he puts in the work, and that's respected by every one of our people at NASCAR, and I think you see that in the garage too, which is really welcome. It's awesome.
All right, we'll go to Holly next.
Actually, for either of you, but can you talk about, and you kind of alluded to it, Steve, the importance of the fan input as you kind of go forward, things where fans can really feel as if they are, I don't know if having a say is the right expression, but
Yeah, we're the one sport, which is awesome because in the fact that they are the most passionate fans, and you know where they stand. And I think with that passion, we lost a little bit of fans feeling like this was their sport, and you're seeing that come back. The Hell Yeah campaign is all about that. But as we go forward, it's taking their input and making some moves. The chase was part of that. The chase was making that move to go back, and I think there are a lot of other ideas that are out there that the fans go is what they see the drivers do, adding horsepower, doing some things this year that we're going to continue to make those moves, hopefully in the right direction that our fans embrace. Hopefully see that throughout this year, and with that, our fans are the best salespeople in the sports world, right? They love NASCAR. If we can get anyone here to the infield at Talladega, they're going to be coming back, and so that's the goal: is showcase to everyone what we all love about this sport.
Okay, we'll go back to Bob.
This is Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. This is another one for Steve. Mike Helton, even though titles were a little bit different, he pretty much ran things for at least a few years there in the early 2000s. So I'm curious, what did you see him do as a non-France family member in running the sport, and or what advice has he given you that you've really taken to heart about running the France's sport?
So Mike Helton's the most respected guy I've seen in the industry. And what I would say that Mike Helton has given to me, two things. He's given me a ton, but two that always stick out is whatever decision you make, who needs to know about what you just did? And we have so many stakeholders to make sure that you over-communicate. And the other thing I know about Mike, he does not brag about this. He does not talk about this. That guy is calling everybody on Christmas Day. He's talking to drivers. He's talking to crew chiefs. Everybody has a story about Mike Helton and how he's reached out, how he's been always doors open, never changed his cell phone number in the entire time he's been here. Why? Because he wants everyone to have access and be able to talk to him. So the lesson I've learned is you better be accessible. You can't always agree, but you better listen, and you better go back and talk to people. If you're going to go left or right, you decide to go left, you better explain why you didn't go right, and as long as you have a good reason, everything will work out. And the last thing I'd say is, if I could have a quarter of the respect that Mike garnered in this industry, I think it would be a pretty successful run.
Other questions? We'll come back to Kelly.
Ben, I know it's he's sitting right next to you, so try to be as honest as possible. But a lot's been made about Steve being, a non-France family member to ascend into this role. I know a lot of folks have looked at, that's going to be your job one day, or maybe it'll be your job one day. Why haven't you taken it already? Can you explain why Steve is the guy for the role, why you're not there, so to speak, already, and the fact that it is a non-France family member?
Yeah, and Steve talked a lot about Mike, and I would almost make some analogies to Steve as well. I feel like Mike was a mentor to Steve, and Steve has been a big mentor to me. He was the first person I called when I said, hey, I want to take the job at NASCAR and come and work for you guys. We had a lot of conversations over the off season before I did that. And, I think with him and Mike having a competition lens and a competition background is really helpful in the industry. And I think it's given him the credibility and respect in the garage area that Steve has built over his 30-plus years at NASCAR, and being able to know all the different stakeholders in the industry, whether it's teams, drivers, a lot of our partners. And he's built that and fostered those relationships over a long period of time. And I think that is what has helped make him so successful, our sport so successful from that perspective. And the other thing I appreciate about Steve is his honesty and transparency. And you see it through the hallways or anytime we're in a meeting, he's straight up with you. He'll tell you how it is, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And I appreciate that about him. So I look forward to working alongside him and seeing some more success.
And Ben, speaking of working alongside him, could you tell the story about you guys in the LA Memorial Coliseum and how that happened?
Yeah, so Steve and I I think it was 2019, he tasked me, he said, we need to start working on our schedule. We put out the 2020 schedule, we made some big moves, but we wanted to work on the 21 schedule, and it was an opportunity for us to start to think bigger and bolder. So we went on a bit of a world tour in the fall of 19, went to Chicago. That was the first meeting we had over lunch. I think we came up with
Soldier Field. Forgot that it was a little small now.
We tried Soldier Field. That didn't work. But that was when we first sat down and talked about the street course. And then we shortly went to LA after, and we were just driving around all of Southern California. We know how many fans we have in that region. And so we were driving around Southern California. We went to 4 or 5 different pit stops of different potential locations we could go to. We were driving down the highway, and I remember seeing the LA Coliseum we were driving by. And I'm like, man, that place is cool. I think they had some Super Bowls there and, some big events in the past. It'd be wild if you could actually pull off an event. And this was right after the Soldier Field conversation. And one thing led to another. I think we went to the website, found the general manager's email address, shot him a note. And about a month later, went and sat down with him, and that was the genesis of what led to the Clash at the Coliseum.
All from the rental car. Yes. Okay, we'll go over here to my man Reed.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire. For Steve, you talked about expanding the fan base. For years, as long as I've been involved with the sport, the 18 to 39s have sort of been the elusive holy grail. How do you attract those new fans and still maintain the core base that you've got?
Yeah, I think you're seeing it. So the first part, I would just address the core. As the core got older, it's important for us to make sure that their kids, understand what was so cool about NASCAR. So as they're coming back, which they are, that's great for us. So, you bring that generation. On the newer fans or the younger fans, you've seen us make some really bold moves. The new television agreement, having someone like Amazon come in, the demo got much younger already. We can see that. Some of the events that Ben talked about, some of the newer fans, younger fans are coming to those races. And then when you look at the marketing campaign and what we're doing socially and digitally, those numbers have been through the roof this year. And we're seeing it a lot younger engagement. We're actually doing less in terms of what we posted, but the quality of what Jess Smith is putting out is incredible. So people are engaging. I judge my kids on it, whether or not we're cool. And when they're pointing out stuff that I haven't even told them, hey, this is cool, I know we're on to a good thing. So a lot of work still to be done, but you're seeing that come in, and you're seeing it be done being proud of who we are. And I think we chase some things that may not have worked, but we're being way more authentic now, and it's working.
Okay, well, I think that'll wrap it up for us. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing time with us. See you around.